Death, Texas, and Tacos is brought to you by Arrowwood Law Firm and Grange Hall.
Okay, y'all. Everyone sit down, shut your damn mouths, and open up your ears. Because it's time for Death, Texas, and Tacos with my boys, Brad and Barry, the Klinge Brothers.
You know what? A lot of people think I'm an asshole.
And you are.
And the OG ghost brother himself, Mr. Steve Harris.
Hey, is anybody hungry?
Have y'all ever wondered what it would feel like if the paranormal got kicked in the balls? Well, you're about to find out.
Oh, is that the one with the little briquettes?
No, the little bitty pellet you buy in a bag. You pour it in a big hopper, and this auger feeds it into your burner inside. And so and it has a heat shield on top. So you're not getting the open flame on it. You're just getting the heat and the flavor. The pellets are flavored. Like I got cherry wood, oak, mesquite. And
you can taste the flavor in the meat.
Dude, I literally, here's what I do on a brisket. I season my brisket, put it on there, fat up, and turn it on for 250, walk away. 13 hours later, come back, my brisket's done.
13 hours.
They're bad.
But you walk away. You don't have to watch it.
They're expensive. They're like $800, but you can bake pies. You can do, it's like an oven. I will never go away from a Traeger. They're badass, dude.
This episode of Death, Texas, and Tacos is brought to you by Traeger.
Texas barbecue.
Yeah, barbecue tips from the ghost hunting guys. There we go. But you can't be in Texas without knowing a thing or two about barbecue.
Sharing our recipes.
Yeah, that's a freebie, everyone. But welcome to Death, Texas, and Tacos, episode number 3. We're rolling here. We thought we'd be done by now. I thought this is more than we did on the cold spot, isn't it?
Yeah.
We go past 2 episodes.
Big landmark.
Actually, 2 is the magic number with that.
Yeah, we broke a record on now with Death, Texas, and Tacos. We're getting a lot of good response, a lot of viewers, a lot of listeners. I call them viewers, but I guess since we do the Facebook broadcast, it kind of is a viewing thing. It's viewing and listening, but it's going really, really good, better than we expected. So we really thank everyone out there for supporting us. You know, just being a part of this big movement that we call Death, Texas, and Tacos. Barry and I were talking this week, as we said last time. We never really know what we're going to talk about until we have an idea. He said, "Let's talk about it." I call you, Steve. Say, "Hey, come over. Let's get this recorded." Past couple of times, we've kind of been dogging on some shows. Ghost Hunter's the first one. A little bit about the Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, but tonight we want to talk about Ghost Nation, which Ghost Nation is, Steve. That's the one that Jason Hawes, when Jason and Grant split up from Ghost Hunters, Jason Hawes went to do Ghost Nation on Travel Channel, and Grant went to do Ghost Hunters. We all know about the whole Grant Ghost Hunters thing. We talk about that, but Barry and I we're a little bit nervous about Ghost Nation because we got to know Jason Hawes pretty well a couple years ago in Minnesota at a Paracon, but way prior to that, during the mutiny, we really didn't get along with Jason that well, and I don't know why.
No, the story goes, we started the mutiny, and like I said, the mutiny was just our way of just venting. I guess we were just pissed off that we got canceled. We couldn't believe these other shows were still on, and we weren't. We were kind of jealous. I'll admit it. We were a little jealous, pissed off, but we took it out on some shows, and Ghost Hunters was kind of the brunt of our assault, and we we kind of dogged on Jason, we dogged on Graham, we dogged on the whole cast, and there were some exchanges, through Facebook or whatever. But like Brad said, in Minnesota, we met him face to face.
Well, we flew. What happened was we flew in to Minnesota, Mahnomen, Minnesota.
Manoman.
Way up
Shooting
there.
Shooting
Star Casino. So we flew into Fargo, North Dakota, and Fargo, and Jason came in at the same time, and whoever was at the casino who was picking us up, we shared a car together for about an hour in the car with Jason and his daughter. It's kind of Barry and I are like, oh man, we talked so much shit about him that now we're going to meet him. And let me tell you,
did you have the awkward silence at first?
No, we met each other, and I was just wondering.
We shook hands and introduced. He knew us. We knew him, of course.
And I was wondering. It was kind of like the elephant in the room when we were driving in the car. Like, I wonder if he's going to say anything. Sure enough, he goes, "Yeah, there was some bad blood between us back then." It's like, oh man, he
right off the bat.
Yeah, he did. He did know about it. We're like, yeah, we were kind of bitter back then, and bygones we got. He's like, yeah, whatever. It's all good. But got to know him and got to become good friends with him over the years. Then he comes out with this whole Ghost Nation thing. And I'll be honest with you, we're a little nervous because here's a show that, all these shows that are out there, they're pretty bad. The ones that we have been watching. There hasn't really been one that was something that we could really put our arms around and embrace and say, this is a pretty good show. So we're a little nervous because now you got someone who's kind of a friend of yours on a show, and when they ask you, hey, what do you think of the show? Yeah, that was a good show.
About that show.
I mean, what do you say? Yeah. But it debuted last season, right? Season 1 was...
Last week.
No, the first season.
No, first season. Yeah, last season
was last season.
First episode of the second season was the 22nd of April.
Yeah,
last Wednesday. The show we told you to watch, which you didn't watch.
Yeah, I didn't watch.
So in the first season of Ghost Nation, we'll just jump right into it. It was pretty good. It was, I call it even keeled. It was very steady. Mm-hmm. They were very into the investigation. There was no drama. It
was true to form.
To
real investigation. On Ghost Hunts,
yeah.
It's pretty boring. It's mundane, but a lot of research, things like that, and that's how the show. It really portrayed how our real investigation was. There was no dramatics. There was no people getting hurt and going to the hospital. There was none of that. It was strictly investigation.
Where'd they go to investigate?
All over, mainly up in the Northeast.
Up in the Northeast, but they did
Pennsylvania, Rhode Island. They were
new places or same old?
New places. Okay. They were actually houses for the most part. I can't remember all the episodes.
Yeah, but see, the guys of the show is the Ghost Nation. So you know how when they were Taps, well, he still has Taps, but Taps was this network of paranormal investigators around the country, like the Taps family. Without, it's UPRO, I believe is the acronym. I can't tell you what it stands for, but it's UPRO.
I'm going to look it up right now.
But what it is it's a network of paranormal investigators that call him, get with him for cases that they have, that they ask Jason, Dave, and Steve from Ghost Hunters is on it too, to come out there and investigate with them. Mm-hmm. And what's cool is that you get the full story of what we'll call the client. You'll get all their experiences, why they're being tormented, or what the problem is with the haunting. They come out, they get that full story, they do full research, they go through the town, they go to the libraries, they go to local authorities who might have documentation on certain things.
Basically, kind of like what we used to do before.
Exactly, it's very close to what Ghost Lab does. Now, of course, Barry and I's personality are kind of woohoo! Yeah, we get excited our way out there, and their personality is not like that, but that's just them, and that's the cool thing because that's actually their personality. So there's what you see is what you get with them,
right?
And everybody has their own style, but it did well. It did very well the first season on travel. The episodes were good. I watched all the episodes, kind of got into it, but then season 2 came along, and I'm like, okay, here's what happens. Usually, it's like, are they going to do better? Or is this thing going to tank? Mm-hmm. So we sit down, we watch it, and let me tell you, I'm biased on Ghost Lab, obviously, because we're Ghost Lab, but it's probably one of the best paranormal shows I've seen out there. That first episode of season 2, and we'll tell you why.
This was last Wednesday.
This was last Wednesday.
All right.
Now, unfortunately, I think they have a lot to keep up with to hold the standard as high as they did on the first episode for season 2. Mm-hmm. There are some things that Barry and I we don't really like about the show, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But man, let me tell you, it was kind of one of those, you're on the edge of your seat. When the commercial comes on, you're like, damn it, I want to see what goes on. They cliffhang at the right time. What was where was this place at?
It was actually just like a farm right outside our house, right outside Gettysburg.
Yeah, Gettysburg. That's right.
Right. It wasn't in Gettysburg. I think it's on the outskirts of Gettysburg, an old farmhouse. 1800s. Family lives there now, and they're experiencing things. They're experiencing apparitions, noises, things like that. And there's this tree that's there in their backyard, and they call it the witching tree. And we'll get into that in a second, but. So you have a lot of things going on in this one farmhouse. Plus, you have Gettysburg right down the road with all adding to all that stuff too. What's interesting is the way the show progresses, and we'll talk about it in a sec. It's like there's tons of different directions this thing went in the 2-hour special. Now we reviewed
a 2-hour special.
2 hours.
Yeah, it was 2 hours. Wow. And watched the whole thing. It was fair, good the whole way through.
Which is fair because Ghost Hunters, the one we did with Ghost Hunters was a 2-hour premiere.
Right.
This is a 2-hour premiere. Now the only difference is this is kind of interesting. Ghost Nation last season was on Friday nights. Mm-hmm. Friday night's not a big
Ghost night.
TV night. It's not a big TV night. You know, people are out. They're out. This is pre-COVID-19.
Yeah.
It's hard to watch. They still did very well in the ratings this year, and we'll find out why later. But it's on Wednesday nights. The show has moved from Friday, and it's opposite now of Ghost Hunters. Now, this show is a little different because it came on at 7 Central to 9 Central. There was an hour gap that Ghost Hunters was on. So that the last hour of Ghost Nation, Ghost Hunters was on. So they were only competing against each other for the second hour. What the hell are you doing, Steve, with that damn microphone?
He's adjusting his mic. His phone's falling all over the place.
It's like, damn, you ever done a radio show before? Reminds me of the cold spot.
Go ahead. Get everything
shit
adjusted.
together.
So you get
You ready?
adjusted.
Flashbacks. All right.
There you
All right,
go.
there you
All
go.
right. So, but it's on Wednesday nights now, opposite of Ghost Hunters, and this coming Wednesday night, which is tomorrow, the 29th, it's head-to-head. Same hour, same time, different channel.
Barry had mentioned it before. Like the episode could have gone a bunch of different directions, and it reminds me of Ghost Lab when we would show up to a place, we would never know about what was going on. In fact, we kind of liked the fact that we didn't know what was going on, and when we showed up to the location, when Barry and I did our scout or whatever they used to call it in the very beginning, we were searching for something, just anything, any piece of paranormal evidence, any tidbit of information that would lead us down the road to how would we investigate. And sometimes we'd find things that would take us down the wrong road, and we would show it and we would give up on it, or it'd take us down like a twist, something you weren't expecting. And that's what this thing did, because you hear this reports from this man and this woman who live in this house. They see a woman in the house and they see a man in the house, and they could describe the woman and the man. The woman was like in an apron or something like that.
Yeah, long dress. She's holding a
basket or something.
Yeah, a basket.
Like that.
That's what it was. Holding a basket in her hand. She was seen outside, actually, also on the porch.
Right. And then the man had a kind of like the overalls and farmer looking type and real gruff and kind of a rough guy. And he would actually talk. He would say things, and they would hear him speak. So kind of terrifying type thing to experience. These people were a little weirded out by this because it happened all the time.
And I saw them actually in the multiple, like they saw them in the house. I think they saw them in the barn also. There was different places on the stairwell, down the kitchen, over here on the porch. So they were like moving around. This wasn't like one location where they saw these ghosts. They saw them in multiple locations.
Right. And as is with Gettysburg and anywhere in the north, or especially along the Mason-Dixon line for the Civil War, a lot of these places were known for the Underground Railroad or their Underground Railroad stops. So there was tunnels that they had found outside of the house when the utility company was digging. There's these tunnels, and they were thinking that these tunnels may have gone under the house, and so they did some research, and they brought in a Underground Railroad expert, Civil War historian, talked about the area. And actually, what I found funny was that guy was kind of like, yeah, he didn't really buy into the fact that this was a part of the Underground
Not just
Railroad.
history. He was into engineering and construction of the different structures around Gettysburg, like what these tunnels were used for, or what this room was used for. So he knew that, plus the history of their.
Yeah, he said any of those places could be used for crawl spaces to hide slaves and that are trying to escape and things like that. But he really wasn't sold. It was almost like they went down that road. And I know a lot of other television shows, what they would have done is they would have picked up on that, and they would have found everything that had to do with the Underground Railroad, and they would have found slave ghosts hiding in the house. I mean, and when I saw that, I was like, oh, man, here's where it goes. But it pretty much ended right there.
Well, he ended it because he said, because the Quakers in that area were the ones that were running the Underground Railroad. They're the ones that were helping the slaves get to freedom. There was no Quakers in that area. And so he pretty much squashed it right there on the interview. Now, couldn't have happened. It's still possible, but probably didn't, because there was no Quakers in this area, and they would be the ones that were running it. So that was squashed. That's like rabbit hole number one.
Well, I was going to say that's cool, because that actually led their investigation.
Yeah, well, but then they sent Dave off to the local
library
and to do some research, and he found some names. And I'll go back. What I do like about it is they found a name, or
Henry.
Henry. They found this name, and this was a paranormal investigator from before. And remember when I said that that UPRO?
Yeah,
they actually. These are cases from these local paranormal teams, and so they always bring someone who's on that paranormal team to be a part of the investigation. whether they're watching the DVR or helping with the research or doing something. They bring them in to be a part of the investigation.
And,
so it's like
UPRO is the organization, the network of paranormal teams globally. TAPS is the same thing, but it's nationally. So that's the difference. This one's the world. TAPS is around the nation. So these two girls are on this, I guess, local team.
Yeah. And, well, the one girl is...
One girl was, and one was a friend of theirs.
Was a friend of theirs that came in and helped out. So they got this... that team got this name on one of those freaking...
It was an Ovilus.
It was an Ovilus?
He even said...
it was an app Ovilus, though. It wasn't
he even
like,
goes, they caught this name on an app that we don't give much merit to. He even said that.
That's the point I was trying to make. So they go out there and they say, yeah, they got this name Henry, but it was on an Ovilus, which is not something that we really... whatever. But it's the name Henry. Well, let's just...
run with it,
toy with it, and see where it goes. Well, they did find a Henry that was a part of the house.
He was the original landowner.
Wow.
So now they got that. They got a tie to a Henry. They like I said, they're not putting much merit into it. One of the focal points of the investigation here. So now they do the research. Now they looked at the Underground Railroad. There's an old dead tree that's way out back, probably 150 yards out back. Dead, just standing by itself in the middle of this field. There's no other tree around.
I mean, a blank field, and there's a giant
dead
tree. I mean, like the branch looks like something out of a horror movie, just in the middle of nowhere.
Now, what they were saying is back in the day, they would anyone that was kind of accused of witchcraft or in that Quaker or Amish type setting, not only they would hang them, but they would bury them. And they would plant a tree on top of them, and that was supposed to keep the evil spirit
keep them there. And don't let them leave.
It won't let them leave.
Wow.
And so they called this the witching tree because the rumor was that there was a local witch that may have been buried out there. Okay, so you know how it is. It's just like in some of these things, investigations that we go to, where we hear this crazy story, and we're like, "Wow, that sounds like a really fantastic story. Wouldn't it be cool if it was true?"
Yeah, right.
Okay, well. They did something in the investigation, which is this is something that I totally would have done, and they did it. But we're going to get to that after this break.
Hey, y'all, let's take a minute to talk about the people who pay for all this shit here. So do us a favor and listen up.
Have you found yourself facing DUI charges?
Arrowwood Law Firm.
Have you had your license suspended?
Arrowwood Law Firm.
In the middle of a nasty divorce?
Arrowwood Law Firm.
Then call Jeff Arrowwood of Arrowwood Law Firm. 850-244-JEFF. That's 850-244-5333. With offices in Fort Walton Beach, Tallahassee, and Tampa, Florida. He's here to help fellow Floridians. Call Jeff Arrowwood. 850-244-JEFF.
Arrowwood Law Firm.
Now back to Death, Texas, and Tacos.
We're talking the premiere of Ghost Nation, Season 2 of Ghost Nation. And right before the break, I was going to talk about probably the best, most exciting part. They brought in cadaver dogs. 3 cadaver dogs. 3 German Shepherds from this local company. And and what it was is what I was expecting is bringing the cadaver dogs. They'll sniff around, nothing. That's usually the case.
Right.
They let the first one go. And what happens with a cadaver dog? They train them to when they smell human remains, they'll lie down, and that's how they point. Or that's how they mark.
And each dog was done individually, so the other 2 dogs are in the car.
Yeah, they're not.
Just one dog at a time was that, and they're let loose. They're not on a leash. They're let loose in this field.
Yeah, they're not led to the location, so they let them loose. The first dog runs around, starts circling in, gets towards the tree, lies down right at the tree, and then starts kind of like jumping up into it. Oh, they're like, oh man, that was weird. Okay, bring in the second dog. They put the first dog up, second dog runs around, narrows in, sits down almost on the same spot. Mark.
Same spot.
At this time, Jason, Dave, and Steve are like,
crap.
"Oh my God, you got to be kidding me!" And you could see the genuine excitement in them.
Right.
Like, I can't believe that this is actually working. Third dog comes out, circles, bam, on the spot. They're like, "There's a body under there," and I'm sitting there watching TV like, "Oh, they better dig. There better be a body under there. I want to see a body."
Did they do? I think like one of our episodes, didn't we use like ground penetrating radar?
No, they went beyond that. Since the owners, It's kind of like our Blackbeard episode.
That's what I was thinking of.
We dug in the driveway.
Before they dug, though, he comes in the house and he said they had to call law enforcement. They had to call. There's a dead body. According to the dogs, it's actually a Pennsylvania organization. They do body searches all over the state. Mm-hmm. And so they said, well, in their protocol, you got to call law enforcement. So they call the cops. Cops come out there. They view for any kind of a recent, like, disturbing of the ground. Like, is it a recent murder? Is it a recent whatever?
A fresh burial or something like that.
They determined it wasn't. And they said, you got the go-ahead.
To do whatever you want.
And so the forensics team came out, the whole 9 yards. And, thumbs up, you got the go-ahead. So that's when they go.
So the cops, from that point on, the cops are done.
Cops are done.
They don't have nothing to do with it.
They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, wow.
Because they determined that that had not been disturbed within I think like 30 years, or there was some sort of gauge where they could measure like marks on the tree, ground. And mind you, this was frozen ground. This is in the middle of the winter, frozen ground, and these dogs picked up
real windy, super cold that day.
Three dogs picked up on a dead body sent underneath that tree. So we're like, okay, cool. We're going to find a body now. This is going to be interesting. Sure enough, comes back, police leave. They go out there and they bulldoze that tree. They bulldoze it down. So now it's all uprooted.
Oh, what about what the owners say? They were cool with it?
Well, yeah, they called them back in and said, hey, here's the deal. What do you want to do? And they said, let's go do it.
Well, even the husband, the guy that lived there, he said that tree like just makes him feel sad. It like affects him emotionally when he's around that tree. Right. So they were having some experience. They never saw anything out there, but the actual tree itself, I mean, emotionally was like messing with them somehow. Yeah. And so they dug first. They actually took giant scoops next to the tree, and they found a bunch of like odd like stones, like it was like flat stones, rocks that shouldn't have been there, and then they knocked the tree over.
Right. So there's this crater where the tree was uprooted. So they're in there. They got metal detectors, and they're picking around, and they find this cloth about probably like a 4x3 piece of cloth or something like that. And it was like dress material. It was clothing material because it was woven, but it looked like it was dirty. I mean, it was been in dirt and stuff. So what they said was, hey, let's get some luminol. Let's squirt it with luminol, and find out there's blood on it. They did it at night. Squirted luminol, put the black light on. Thing lit up like a Christmas tree. It was covered in blood
all over it.
So they didn't find any bones. They didn't find anything else yet. I would only imagine, and they said at the end that they're going to go back at some point, or the family is going to go and dig up some more and see if there might be some bones or some other kind of human remains there. But is yet to be seen. But a positive hit, finding a piece of cloth covered in blood, and those dogs only hit on human remains too. They don't. It's not like if it's a dead animal.
Yeah. No animals. It's just human remains. That's what they're trained for. I mean, talking about hours and hours and months and months of training.
Well, I'm just going to clarify. So the human remains meaning bones, not just because they just smelled blood.
Anything containing DNA. So like bones, blood.
Okay, so it could have
decomposed
hair,
flesh. Yeah,
so it could have been just the claw, maybe
the blood on the. I think what's happened. Well, like I said, they ended the episode. I'm sure they've found more things. And at the end of the episode, they said they're going to continue looking for more bones. But in the episode, they also found a spike, this big long metal spike,
like you drive through a vampire's heart or something.
To say that.
It's a wooden stake. I think they were saying on that vampire. But Tango's like, oh, at least they know no vampires in here. But they luminol that and no blood. It was just on the cloth. Now, that scene kind of went away. So they left that scene. So they have a positive hit on the dead body. They found blood of possible someone was buried on that tree. Now, the story is they've actually did some more research. So Tango goes back to the library, wherever he was at. He does some more research. He finds another guy that was the second owner of the property. And he actually found a living relative of that guy.
Oh, wow.
Come to find out, this guy was a farmer, mean as shit. He would beat his kids to make them work. He would grumpy. He's a womanizer. He's like,
woman's place is in the kitchen type.
You belong in the house, in the kitchen, and I belong in the field. That kind of mentality, which is what the reports were for this ghost. They had one scene, this guy was slicing apples, and he looked up, and there's Ghost. And it says, that's woman's work.
Damn.
And that's what he said to him.
Wow.
Then the other one was the lady. She drove the tractor one day and came in the house, and he was like looking at her like, that's a man's work. What you doing on a tractor? So you had this mean dude. Well, come to find out, they found the death. They found the relative. They interviewed him actually in the Gettysburg battlefield. I actually asked Jason during the episode. I said, "Did y'all have any problems?"
I thought that.
I said,
I thought that.
He said, no, because I know one of the Rangers, we had zero problems. I got right on.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, I told him, I said, man, we couldn't even be on the damn battlefield.
Yeah, a quick aside story. When we were filming Gettysburg, the Rangers had told us you cannot film on the battlefield whatsoever. So we were in the neighborhood over by where I caught that video back in the 90s. And my foot went off the sidewalk and touched the grass. And there was a Ranger there within 5 seconds. Whoop, whoop. Hey, we're going to shut you down and all this kind of stuff. Man, we should have been friends with him back then.
Yeah, he said,
Son of a bitch.
He's zero red tape. He walked right on, filmed all the cannons are in the background, they're like on the
I thought that's
battlefield.
when I saw them out there, I thought the same thing. I was like, how the hell did they get out there?
Oh, so how far away from the battlefield is this house? Or
It's like 7 or 8 miles. It's probably about as far as Fairfield is from Gettysburg.
Okay.
But in another direction.
Okay.
So the guy has his pocket watch that he died. He died
on the
battlefield.
He was a severe alcoholic, and I don't know how he got to the battlefield. He died on the battlefield.
Wow.
That's where they found his body. In fact, they were interviewing each other right where he was found.
With the pocket, so he had a pocket watch on him, and the relative gave Dave the pocket watch. Said, "Here, you use this." So they took it back. They did the investigation that night. They used it as kind of a trigger object.
Right.
But then they got something on video.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's something I always like to see.
Video. I love video. And it was a shadowy figure, and they had said that they see something walk by in the kitchen or where I guess it's the dining room. Mm-hmm. And it looked like this kind of torso and legs, kind of smoky, misty, and just
kind of like Predator vision, like distorted, like heat. You know how you on the highway, kind of like that effect, and it moved from left to right.
But they're using just normal cameras, no special cameras.
DVR cameras.
DVR infrared camera.
Mm-hmm. They also had this really cool device. It was sonar. Mm-hmm. So it was a sonar cam that you would put in. You know, like those fish finders,
right?
Where you have on the back of a boat, where it looks underwater and it sees all the logs and the depth and the fish. This is the same thing. It maps the room out on sonar, so you can see. Well, there's the cabinets, there's the door, and if anything else like pops in between, it feeds back like a sonar.
That is cool. I wish we had that back.
I know. So that was a pretty cool device.
I was texting back and forth with Jason during the episode. And I said, "Man, that's some pretty cool sonar. I wish we had that." And what's cool, they put it in the kitchen, so it's 180 degrees. Uh-huh. So when it shoots the scan across, you see the cabinet, you see the form of the actual kitchen. Right. And if something was there that had to be probably solid form in order to pick it up, you would see it. Nothing was found from it. I thought it was pretty cool. The whole time I'm watching the show, it's like I'm watching Ghost Lab. I mean, seriously, I was like, I said, this is exactly what we would have done. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
We would have done everything like that. But then, they get that. They kind of determine, did they get a voice? I can't remember if they got a voice or not.
I can't remember what the voice said, but they did. I believe they got an EVP.
Yeah, so they got EVP, they got video, they got a hit with the cadaver dogs, dug up a tree, found a bloody cloth, had the Underground Railroad, went away from that. This 2-hour episode, it was just like this complete journey into a real-ass paranormal investigation, just like we would have done. That's why I was excited. I was like, man, I'm glad this episode didn't suck, because I don't know what I was going to tell Jason if the episode sucked.
I'll read a text. This is what I wrote Jason during. I said, "Hey, great show, congrats. We're going to do a podcast about y'all soon." He said, "Oh, hopefully you don't kill me." He goes, "But be honest." And I told him, I said, "If it does suck, we're gonna even though you're a friend, we're gonna give you the real deal." And there's some things we didn't.
Well, there are some sucky things about the show we don't really like.
The other thing we found on the show was that the witch. They actually found the name of this woman who claimed to be an Irish witch. Uh-huh. And she actually put a curse on that land because the people there couldn't pay.
Oh, yeah.
They couldn't pay the debt of the land or something. She put a curse on that land, a witch. It says she's a witch. So to think there might be that woman that's actually buried underneath the tree, we don't know. But there is a connection to a person who claimed to be a witch on that property. So all that's great. And like I said, about damn time, there's a ghost show out there that's true to form. It's real, and I like it. And it ain't just because I'm friends with Jason. It is truly the way it needs to be.
What I told him is I texted him the next day, and I said, I think the reason that we do get along, and we don't get along with a whole lot of people. I mean, we get along. You know what I mean? We're hard to please. Yeah. We really are. We're very critical. We're hard to please. And here's a guy who we really couldn't stand 10 years ago for whatever reason. It was unfounded. We just blindly didn't like the guy. Start talking to him, start realizing that we have a lot more in common than we realized. And then you see the show, and it's like, man, that's exactly our thought processes. Now, production-wise, there's some things on the show that drive me insane every time. I wish they would change, but I guess we would be getting nitpicky at that point in time if they could just kind of do away with this stuff. I'll get it. The one thing that I really don't like, there's a couple of things, is they have the graphics of the ghosts. Okay, so every time that they talk about whatever ghost that they're dealing with, they have this specific graphic, and it's a very white, smoky, translucent, glowing ghost, and it always looks like the thing, the hat or the overalls. It's not like it's just a blob. Yeah. It looks like the person, but it's smoky. But it's always the same type of graphic. It's like every ghost looks
reminds
like
me of the Haunted Mansion at Disney World.
Yeah, like that Haunted Mansion ghost.
Holographic looking ghost.
And every time that they tell a story, or if they refer to the ghost, so let's say the man ghost they see, every time somebody, whether it's the owners of the house recounting their story, whether it's one of the investigators talking about what they saw or what they found out about this ghost, they always go to a shot of that ghost in that area.
So it's over
every
and over and
single
over
time.
and over and over.
Well, see, that sounds like something that he has nothing control over. It's like something that would be done in post-production.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand it's like, recreations and things are
They're trying to be
cool.
spooky. They're trying to be scary, which I get. Right. It's just, and I don't really mind the way it looks. The problem I have is it's like over and over. You're looking at the ghost. I guarantee.
Well, every time they say the man ghost in the kitchen, shows we were talking about the man ghost that they saw in the kitchen. Goes to that every time. But what I don't like about it is the fact that in this particular episode, they describe the ghost as just like when you see someone. I've seen apparitions before that look like people just standing there. They don't look like ghosts,
right? And
that's how they describe them. They describe them as people in their house. They didn't describe it as a glowing, smoking, figure. But I guess what they say: the masses are asses. Isn't that what they told us? The production companies told us when we were filming Ghost Lab that they have to, paint these pictures for the audience. Which I don't think so, but they do. But the other graphic thing is it's kind of Ghost Lab-ish, but I think that they do it too much.
Yeah, they do. In Ghost Lab when we were casting the electronic net,
yeah.
They had to go to a 3D image of the structure we're at.
Right.
All these crazy. Well, they kind of do that with this, but they're like Tango and Steve are going to go into the kitchen. It has this 3D, you're walking into this model.
Like an invisible house of the model, and it shows
and it highlights the kitchen. Okay, that's where they're at, which is cool. It's fine, but they do it every time they mention the word kitchen. Kitchen. It's like we're going upstairs. It's like that, and I don't know if it's doing it early on in the season to establish with the viewers. It might get less and less because I remember when we did Ghost Lab. They have the definition of an EVP would come up all the time,
right? And
then it kind of went away as the episodes went along. I don't know if that's why they're doing it. I don't know, but it kind of takes away from. And I know they got to fill some space with some stuff, but it's just like over and over.
But man, if that's really the only things that we can complain about, I mean, it's a great show. I mean, I could definitely overlook that kind of stuff, and it's almost like if we tell this, and maybe if Jason listens to it, go back and tell the production company, hey. A little less on the special effects graphics because it kind of gets old. I think one time when they're telling the story originally would be great, but don't keep going back to it. That's my only complaint about that.
Now that we talk about the drama on the other shows, I started thinking about it. I don't like the drama. But then again, sometimes I do because it's like comedic hour. It's like it gives me something to like laugh about and make fun of. It's a lot of material for the show, so it's like you really kind of hope a show sucks because we have a really good material. But like I said, this was a very good show, and it was like I told Jason straight up. I said it reminded me of Ghostlight. It got me pumped up. It's like we need to be on freaking TV again.
That's why I told Jack it makes me want to get out there again and do this.
And I was like, this is refreshing. It's exactly like we would have done it. I would watch that show, and it's on every Wednesday, and I'm going to watch it every Wednesday.
Just from you explaining it to me, it made me want to watch it.
Go back and watch the first episode from last Wednesday. It's really, really cool episode.
And that camera sounds cool because I wish we had that during Ghost Lab.
Yeah. But hey, I guess you got to give credit where credit's due. We're gonna knock you. We're gonna come after you if it's bad, and we're gonna give you credit if it's good. So, congratulations, Jason! You escaped the wrath of the Klinge Brothers.
For
That's
now.
excellent talk.
Hey,
so better keep the episodes good.
Yeah. So that's the second episode. Don't suck. My only.
But I had an idea for other shows that we do. Is we talk about other shows. I want to talk about some Ghost Lab episodes that we can kind of poke fun at ourselves and things that we didn't like and the things that we disagreed with, and it would only be fair for us to criticize ourselves as well. So I think that's where we're going to go, either next episode or maybe next couple episodes. We'll see. We haven't figured it out yet, but that's about all the time we have for Death, Texas, and Tacos today. Thanks once again for tuning in, listening. We always appreciate it. I guess we'll see you next time.
Later.
See ya.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Death, Texas, and Tacos. And if you didn't, ain't nobody give a damn. Go on and cry to your mama. But we know your ass is gonna be back next week for more. Adios, suckers.